So this is 2005 to 2006. So 22 to 23 years old. Um, I was in a horrible accident, not involving me, someone else. But yeah, I was driving the golf cart, and Dennis came up to work. I don't know to get a schedule, whatever he came up to work for. But Harris policy said, do not let any employees get on the golf cart. I knew this 100%, and so because I drove the golf cart, and so Dennis hops out of his car, and he's like, "Give me a ride to the back." And I'm like, "Oh man, I had it was just destiny, man. Because usually I'm filled, so I could feel like three in the middle row, three in the second row, and then three on the one that's facing away from the court, And I had one seat open, which I never had that seat open next to me on the passenger side on the golf court, and just so happened I'm like, okay, I'll give him a ride. It's right there, like I could see like where he was going to, and I was like, I probably won't get caught. And so he jumps in. The lady in the back is probably like 80, 75 to like 80 years old. The seats that's facing away because it's like front seat, and then the other seats inside the back of the golf cart. And so she gets out and she's holding on to the railing, and it was my fault because I didn't check the mirrors like I was supposed to check to see if everybody was on board. And then I hit the gas, and then the lady gets pulled, like it jerks her body, and she falls down, and I hear like a silent scream. I see a bald head guy who worked in the buffet, I want to say, and he was like, "Stop, stop, stop," whatever, like that. And so I stopped. I turn around, and this lady is just laying there, like bleeding from like the back of her head. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, if I wouldn't have stopped here, this would have never happened. This passing, everything went through my head of the odds of this happening. It was just destined to happen. And so they end up suspending me, and I just knew I was fired. Uh, and after reviewing the tapes, after we went home or whatnot on our suspension, I know I was in the wrong. I don't know what happened, if it was Mr. Cynthia or somebody on the higher ups or whatever. They ended up giving both of us our job back because Dennis and I both should have been fired because he shouldn't have been on the golf court. I should have checked my rearview mirror. I shouldn't even let him drive, whatever, like that. And yeah, we ended up getting to go back. Uh, just from driving the golf court, end up saving like I want to say $16,000, 15 or 16,000, whatever it was, didn't matter. But I was in the market for looking for a car, and um, I wanted to get this Expedition, but it was like, so this is 2005. I wanted to get this Expedition, but the Expedition was like a 97 or 98, so it was like 8 years old, but it was only like 10 grand. I had to pay in cash. But like, man, I can imagine like my dad came back to me here like, how much will I have to fix on this thing? Because it didn't sound that right when I went inside of it, whatever. And I wanted to get one of those S-type Jaguars, and that would have been expensive to fix because they were only like 13,000 for like an older model, whatever, like that. I mean, probably like 5 or 6 year older model. And so my dad, I ended up looking through the thrifting nickel. And that's saying dad and I ended up finding this 2002 Nissan Altima for like 13,500, 13,000, even 13,500. I had enough for it, whatever. And the problem was I paid cash for the car, like through a cashier's check. But I ended up buying the car on a Friday, but it was too late. It was like Friday, let's say like at 4 something. So it was too late to get the title and every single thing from the DMV. Or was it Friday or the Saturday? Whatever, it didn't matter. But the DMV would have been closed, whatever, the next day. So it might have been that Saturday, and the DMV was closed that Sunday or Friday, and the DMV was closed that weekend or whatnot. But I was just kind of in a limbo because I couldn't, since I couldn't get the title, I couldn't get insurance put on the car, until the Monday. So I got all the paperwork, whatever, done to be able to put insurance on it. And but the bad thing about it was that weekend, Hurricane Katrina was making landfall, and we didn't know if it was gonna reach us or not. We knew it was headed towards New Orleans, and since I didn't have insurance or like the title, whatever, uh, if that hurricane would have washed that car and damaged all of the whole car up or whatnot, then I would have just been $13,000 or $14,000, 13,500, $14,000 out of money because it was me taking that gamble. I don't know why I didn't just wait till Monday to buy that car, but whatever. Um, yeah, so I ended up bringing it to. I didn't want to be inside of an apartment complex because I didn't want a whole bunch of stuff like hitting it or whatnot. And so I brought it to my parents' house and I parked it like in the middle of the backyard where there's not like a lot of traffic, like not a lot of things to hit it or whatnot. And luckily Katrina didn't hit Lake Charles. Like can't even say that bad. I don't think it hit us like at all from my memory. Um, so I remember we had a lot of Katrina victims come to Sand Lake Charles who wasn't really damaged that bad. They said the Civic Center. But then Rita was coming afterwards, and I had insurance, every single thing on the car, whatnot. We had internet at this time. Dennis had a computer in his room, the Sony Vaio, and I had some type of computer inside of my room. Dennis still owe me money for that computer, but we're not gonna talk about that. Yeah, we was both watching the tracking on I had an E machine. That's the name of that freaking computer. Um, we were both looking at like the trajectory of Hurricane Rita, and then first we were like, we're gonna stay for this because it might just be like another Hurricane Katrina where it wasn't really that bad, whatever like that. And we seen it. I want to say like the news guy was like, if you decide to stay for a Hurricane Rita, just make sure you have your toe tags or something like that ready, just in case you was to die, they'll be able to identify you. It was like, nah, this ain't the place we're gonna stay. And so Kenan wanted to stay. He wanted to stay and play Dead or Alive on the big screen that Dennis and I bought uh, at the townhouse with his friends Zach and Lance. And so me and Dix, we took the plug with us and left for Shreveport. It barely even like drizzled in Shreveport, but Lake Charles was getting like messed up. Was watching on the news like even Harris unhinged their boat like for the insurance money. Not 100% sure, but I am about 99% sure they went and took a lock off or something and pushed it out into the water because the Bears was cooking them, man. Like they was making almost nothing. Um, and so uh, we end up we drove back to Lake Charles after the whole thing was said and done, whatever, and it was like it was devastated. They're like the army type people, like assault rifles, like standing like at the entrance of like Moss Bluff. It was bad. It was like a danger zone. And the apartment lady said, y'all can't be staying inside these apartments. And we was like, we're not staying inside these apartments. She was like, we staying in Shreveport. And she was like, well, there's a light that comes on at nighttime that's showing that someone's inside those apartments. She was like, it's full of mold. You can like die, like health hazard from that. And it was Kenneth. Kenneth was still staying inside of his room, the whole apartment full of mold. And we asked Kenneth, it was like, come back with us, come to Shreveport with us. And he refused because he wanted to stay with his parents ended up staying here. My parents ended up staying here as well. And I remember driving back, I ended up getting a nail in my tire, and I drove to my parents' house, and my dad plugged it. And my mom, she was like, "You can leave me here with Rufus?" It was like, "We gotta go." There was no air conditioning. I can't do heat, man. mean, they might have like a window unit, but it just was gonna cut it for me. And we started driving back to Shreveport, and we seen like this 21-ounce steak for like $15, and we called each other. We was in separate vehicles. It's so stupid. And gas was high at this time as well, like it is now. Um, because I wanted to listen to my music and he wanted to listen to his music. So it was like, you take your Honda Accord, I'm gonna take my Nissan Altima. This way we don't waste the gas. Anyway, we called each other on the phone, um, and we was like, "You think it's safe?" Because it was like this little country town. Dennis knows the name of the town. I think it's like Leesville, whatever. I wasn't familiar with the town, but I just wanted to make sure like it wasn't a racist place where they'll like freaking like PM off a freaking lemonade or something. And we was like, man, we just hope to see one black person inside of here, and they had a black person in the back, and he was a cook, and he gave us like not really like the thumbs up, just like a what's up, and we felt safe. Once to see the black cook back there. We made it back to Shreveport. We visited Dennis' cousin house to play some dominoes. We went to his sister's football games. I want to say she was a cheerleader at this time, still cheerleading, whatever, because we just went to a competition back in like '02, whatever. And yeah, we watched a football game there, whatnot. We ate free at Harris because Harris took care of their employees for the next 3 months. Since Harris is shut down, they paid us 3 months checks plus any Harris around the world. We just had to show them our badge and we got to eat free there. And they had a Harris property in Bossier City, Shreveport, whatever you want to call it. And received our $2,000 FEMA check. And yeah, it was pretty cool. But like, I just didn't like Shreveport. I don't know. I guess it's because I wasn't used to it or whatnot. But I had to get back to Lake Charles, so Um, I left Shreveport. Stayed in my parents' house because our apartment was damaged from the mold or whatnot. And I remember opening up a MySpace page just to let you know, old down, ancient. I bought an Xbox 360, and the first game I bought was GRAW, GRAW. It was Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, and it just blew my mind. Like it's one of the greatest games I've ever seen. 'Cause I remember going to like a Blockbuster, and I was just asking the little dude that worked there. I was like, "What's like a really good game for Xbox 360?" And he was like, "If you haven't played Ghost Recon, you have to." And so I rented it, and then I ended up buying it. I had to. And later, Mrs. Cynthia helped me get hired at LeBerge, not as a dealer, but as a bar back. And the only reason why I even chose bar back is we used to go shoot pool at Strokers. It's where that near where that Walmart on the corner of Ryan and 12th Street is now. And Byron was talking about becoming a bar back. Like I didn't know all the positions, whatever, like that. So I was like, just do the bar back, whatever. And a guy shoot pool with that Purple Heart. I've been shooting pool at Purple Heart since 2001. There's just too many stories over there. Name Mr. Jack. He gave me my nickname Sly because he used to like listen to Sly and the Family Stone. And he said I was very quiet and I looked mischievous, so I looked sly. And yeah, he was a bar back there as well. And so he showed me exactly how not to work hard. and oh, and that kicked me in the ass. Because eventually I was about to let me go because I was like, oh, you have like your work performance is not up to par, and you're not doing your job correctly. And it wasn't because of me. It was because I had one of the worst trainers there. Because everybody hated Mr. Jack. He was like 60 years old, so they couldn't fire him because of the age situation, whatever like that. And people just let things slide because he was old. And he was right inside of his mind. He just played crazy so he could do less work. And yeah, it was just because my trainer, I only worked as hard as my trainer taught me. And once I had a good trainer at bar backing because they were like, we're gonna let Patrick Miller and John Cathy. John Cather actually went to Hamilton with Ray, Kenneth, and Dennis. And yeah, they end up training me day and night. I had no clue half the stuff I was really, or my job really was supposed to do until they showed me how to do it. Uh, End up getting a 2 bedroom apartment in the Charlestonians, my dream apartments. Since the first time Dennis had passed them back in '02, saying, "Man, these apartments look nice, right?" You know, and he went to Pecan Acres inside the back. I got like the fancy Charlestonian apartments. And Dennis was supposed to eventually move back down here when I want to say Oliver Capri opened up their poker room because he was a poker dealer and um, that's another really good paying job inside here besides like the plant or whatever. And so he was just waiting for the poker rooms to open. And then so he was like, just get a 2 bedroom apartment at the Charlestonians. Stay there for like a month or whatever. I'm gonna send you the money. He never did. Um, and um, I'm gonna just move inside there. Everything will be set up, whatever, like that. And so I was like, okay. Ended up getting 2 bedroom. Got the 2 bedroom apartment at the Charlestonian. And Kennedy came a lot. Kennedy even came with me to get my furniture. I ended up going to, I want to say it's Home Furniture on Ryan Street. And I'm getting like this cream sofa with this fancy word that not really fancy at all, but it's fancy to me because it was called a chase. I never even heard of a chase, but the sofa set came with a chase. One of my little favorite spots to sit at. And I set up my 75-gallon fish tank there. That was nice. I set up the seats and having the big screen TV because I was expecting Dennis to come back. Um, yeah, and people would come over, Kenneth a lot just to play Ghost Recon. Really, Charleston was really nice. And I remember going to the casino with end up linking up. I want to say with Jamie Gratney. He used to shoot pool at Purple Heart as well, and so we had like a cool little friendship, whatever like that. Dustin Toussaint, I knew, um, and uh, I'll go to the casino with Jamie Gratney, Dustin Toussaint, Ray sometimes, and other different people, whatever. And so we was playing. Oh, Big Hill. He also shot pool at Purple Heart. Um, so we made this rule like because we play blackjack so much and we'll see like finding was me finding patterns whatever like that. So I found this pattern. It's dumb because it was totally against the blackjack rule book, not rule book, but like the rules on how to play and whatnot. And so we said that if we have 11 or under, we automatically hit. If we have 12 or above, always stay. You know. Doesn't matter what the deal is showing. Dealer could be showing 6, dealer could be showing 8 to 10, doesn't matter. 11 and under hit, 1 through 10 hit, 11 double down, 12 and above stay, no matter what. That's just the golden rule. And so one day, uh, Ray, Ivan, Dustin, and me were all at the Olive Capri. And Dustin took $1,000 he had been saving up. Like, it was huge money at this time, you know. I mean, it's still huge money now, you know, whatever. But like it was huge money to him for sure at this time. And he was working at he was a bellhop at LeBerge, you know, saving up his tips or whatnot. And he said, "Jay, I'm gonna bet $1,000 tonight." And he said, "I'm gonna bet $500 on one hand, $500 on the other hand. So if I lose one, they'll make up for the other one, whatever." And I remember his girlfriend because it was inside the car, and it was inside his. I don't think he had his Avalanche yet. So I want to say it was like I might be wrong on this, something like a Pathfinder or something like that. And I drove back to his house to get the money. It was at Ala Capri, and he wanted to bet that $1,000 badly. So I drove back with him, and his girlfriend was blowing up his phone this whole time because he wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be at the house, you know. And So we get the money. I remember jamming. He was listening to that Young Jeezy, Can't Ban the Snowman at this time. And so we make it back to the casino, and uh, Ray Alvin and I was standing behind him as he placed his bets. He was like on the table with just him, 500, 500, just like he said, two purple chips. And Dustin had a 14 on one hand, 14 on his first hand, and like a 16 on the second hand. No, 14 in the 12. 14 on one hand, 12 on his other hand. And then the dealer was showing a 10. But he already told you the rules was. And he knew the rules perfectly because we told him whatever. If he had a 12 or above, you stayed. Yeah, 12 and a 14, automatic. Shouldn't even think about it. And and he went against the rules. He hit the first hand, got a 10 and busted. $500 lost. So he had a, let's say if it was 14 on the first hand, he hit a 10, so he had 24 over 21, busted. And so the second hand was like, gee, you remember the rules, whatever. It was at 12, you know? And then he hit it again, got another 10. So now he had 22, so it's over 21. I was like, oh my God. I hope this lady have, I was hoping the lady had like 18, and so even, so he had a reason to fight for or whatever like that. And the dealer flips over a freaking 6. So she had a 10. She flips up a 6, so she got 16, and she doesn't have to do anything because Dustin lost both hands. If Dustin would have just stayed on both hands, like both the rules, the dealer would have flipped over 16 and then got that first 10 that he got, and she would have had 26, and he would have won $1,000, 500 on each hand because she busted versus losing $1,000. So they had $2,000 versus having zero. And I remember going inside the garage and Dustin was just shaking his head, man. He wanted to cry so badly, man. And I remember what Ivan said. Ivan said, "I want to turn away, but it's like watching." He said, what did he say? He said, "I don't condone this at all." I didn't even want to laugh because I was still saying about Dustin, but it was funny. He says, "It's like watching a retarded kid getting beat up. You want to turn around, but you just can't." I was like, "Oh fuck!" It's like, don't, whatever, dude. I wanted Dustin to win this so badly, man. One day, the guy Patrick, the one that trained me after Mr. Jack, Patrick Miller, um, he invited me over to his apartment. He lived like right down the street from McNeese. I can still see where the house is at. And he wanted me to play Call of Duty because that's what him and John Cathy would play, and all of his friends and whatnot. And it was a cool little game, but it just something. It just didn't compete with Ghost Recon at all. So yeah, that was a kind of a waste of time. But it was fun just hanging out with him and whatnot. And also met Marquise. I always call him Marcus, but I'll say his name correctly. Marquise was the Marquis Baker. I call him Marcus, like Marcus, you know, whatever. That summer, because they would play Ghost Recon, and I'm guessing this was like the Kappa's house, you know, Kappa frat house, because all the Kappas would hang out at this house. It was like across the street from Kroger's on 12th Street. It was like if you go across the street, then like the next like street over, whatever. They would play Ghost Recon there too. And so him and Kenneth and I would go over there. We'll watch them so badly, man, because they was just playing to play. They thought they were good. They really wasn't. Yeah, but him and I became close by playing just Ghost Recon. And yeah, also I remember Kenneth telling me. Kenneth was like, "Hey, I'm going to see Miami Vice at 2 o'clock today at the movie theater inside the mall." I had like 5 excuses, like thinking like well, if I don't go, then he's just gonna wait and maybe go tomorrow. I was like, yeah, I'll maybe go tomorrow, you know. And then like 6 o'clock come around, and he invited me to go to Mr. Gaddy's. I remember Lance being there, at Mr. Gaddy's with him. He said, "Jay, man, that Miami Vice was amazing." I was like, "What you mean?" I said, "You went?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "You was playing around, so So I just went solo, and I was like, oh my god. So I had a friend named Ashley Showgreen. I want to say the last name I remember her by. Um, and her and I went during that week, whatever. And that's like still one of my favorite movies of all time. And yeah, that was about it from my '05 to '06.